13 persons were paraded by the police yesterday in connection with a siege on Justice Mary Odili's apartment in Abuja. Some of the suspects include a fake chief superintendent of police, Lawrence Ajodo, a contributing editor with one of the national dailies. At least that is what he says he is, but the daily, the newspaper said he's not their staff. Stanley Nkwazema and another person, an Islamic scholar. The force public relations officer, Mr. Frank Mba, paraded the suspects in Abuja and explained that the arrest followed a swift investigation by the police. And why? The Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Abubakar Malami, has distanced himself from a suspect arrested over the siege on Justice Mary Odili's home. The suspect, Lawrence Ajodo, was paraded by the police alongside 13 others. He claimed to work as a consultant for the office of the AGF. However, the police says that their investigations reveal that there is no involvement at all of the officials of the office of the AGF in the raid. In this respect, the Nigerian Bar Association has appointed a special investigator to interface with different parties that may have been linked with this matter. Tonight, we speak with the NBA Special Investigator, Mr. Monday Ubani. He joins us virtually from Lagos. There are many questions begging for answer. The identities of these suspects, the origin of the whole idea, the veracity of the connections, and the real intentions of these issues. Mr. Monday Ubani is also a former second vice president of the NBA. He joins us from Lagos. Thank you so much, Mr. Ubani, for joining us tonight. And let me begin by asking you, as a special investigator appointed by the NBA, what have you found out so far in this matter?
Thank you, Shehu. That was a fallout of the NEC meeting after the invasion that happened on 29th of October, 2021. Of course, you remember that was the day we ended up our conference in Port Harcourt, and then we had the breaking news of that invasion. The president outlined the processes and steps that the NBA will take in the matter, one of which was to convene an emergency NEC meeting, during which several decisions were taken, which is one of them that a special investigator that will actually find out what transpired should be appointed. So consequently, the president did announce that appointment in a press conference that he held in Lagos, and which many journalists were in attendance. And so the idea is to ensure that, one, that this kind of an incident should not be swept under the carpet, because it has happened before and nobody was punished for it. Remember that none of those who were accused during the time of 2016 raid of DSS were convicted. So this time around, we felt that, look, this is an incident too many. And secondly, that there shouldn't be a repetition of this. And so what I have set out to do is, first of all, to get the papers that was actually used by these individuals to carry out the so-called raid or invasion of the revered home of Justice Odili. And I tell you, I've gotten all the papers. I applied for a certified true copy of, one, the affidavit of the whistleblower, that of the CSP Lawrence. I've gotten that, and also the search warrant. I have it in my possession. Of course, all they are revoking the search warrant by the learned magistrate. I've gotten all that. And then I have put a call across to some of the persons that I need to see, who I have to interface in order to get to the root of this matter. And they are willing to have me, visit them in order to hear their own side of the story. So far, so good. We are on top of this particular incident. And as I said earlier, we will get to the root of this particular matter.
All right. It's interesting that, because the next question for me would have been, if these parties that you have approached, because the NBA, in the letter that was transmitted from the office of the president, clearly states some of your line of action and areas you should focus on. My question would have been if those people, the parties, and those who are linked are cooperating with you. But the big question is, I mean, as a lawyer, does your assignment have a force of law?
Well, the point is that NBA is a very major stakeholder in administration of justice, and then if the judiciary is desecrated or there is something that happened within the judicial sector, one of the foremost stakeholders is Nigerian Bar Association. And mind you that the judiciary does not speak for itself. There is only one pressure group that speaks on behalf of the judiciary, and that is Nigerian Bar Association. We have it as our motto to uphold the rule of law. Now, if something like that has happened and the NBA, that is a major stakeholder, feel worried and alarmed, I think the best thing they could do is to also ensure that they get to the root of the matter. There is no issue of law. The issue of cooperation for us to have a smooth administration of justice. We cannot be a major stakeholder while the judiciary will be intimidated. It has happened before, as I said earlier, and nobody was punished. And we cannot have a perfect administration of justice if one particular arm of government, and that is judiciary, is clearly under threat and intimidation. So I think that everyone that has been named as those I will interface with, ordinarily, we want to cooperate, in order to actually give a balanced, view of what has transpired. And as I've spoken to some of them, and they are willing, waiting for me to come over. But I needed to probably get the court papers and all the processes, before I begin to pay a visit to some of the people that I need to. And we have written a letter today, which will be dispatched. I think it has been dispatched today, in order to really give them an information that I need their cooperation in this regard, because this is a task that must be accomplished. And MBA is willing and waiting for me to come and do it.
So, I mean,
yes.
I probably will also want you to explain to us, because looking at the Nigerian legal system, whether or not there is a space or a place of an independent investigator, because the Nigerian police is usually saddled with this kind of responsibility of investigating matters like this, whether or not such investigation will be admissible in court or will be admissible. I mean, that's why I asked you whether or not it will have a force of law. Will the outcome of your investigation can be tenable in court?
The most important thing is that a constituency, that is the Nigerian Bar Association, which is a very large constituency, is willing and ready to listen to what actually happened. And they don't want a situation where those who are culpable, who are implicated, will be the one to carry out the investigation and give us a report. No. What we have set out to do is MBA is interested to know who are those behind this. And if MBA gets a very accurate information as to what has transpired, they will now start the process of what they want to do with regards to those who are involved. So the information MBA is interested in is get us the true facts of what transpired, transmit this information to the constituency. The constituency will meet, ruminate, look at the information you have presented, and then begin to take some level of actions or measures in order to, probably if our members are affected, of course, there are some action that will be taken with that regard. So it may not necessarily be by way of criminal prosecution, but an information that MBA is very much interested in order to carry out one or two things they have to do with the members of the particular body that is involved, that is Nigerian Bar Association.
It is not only the NBA that is interested in this matter. I think the whole nation and the world is watching, and also they're interested in this, because we've had several agencies of government denied any kind of involvement or knowledge in this matter. And we know the role of the judiciary. When there's a quarrel between the executive and the legislature, the judiciary intervenes. When the people and the government are not agreeing, the judiciary intervenes. So when judiciary is now being meddled with or messed up in the manner in which we've seen this kind of situation, then everybody should be interested. The big question is, your investigation just kicked off. So we may not be, it will be it's unhealthy to prejudge whatever you have been able to find out in the preliminary. But the big question is the effect of this kind of situation on our politics, on our democracy, on our society. Because when there's a breakdown in the rule of law, then the society is in jeopardy. So give us a sense of how we can stop this kind of things. You said that this is not the first time it's happening. So that we don't see this kind of situation again. How do we stop it?
The last statement you made before I am coming in is a very correct perspective. Everyone should be worried. The judiciary is the third arm of government, and they play a very key role in stabilization of the polity, the economy itself. And when that particular arm of government is under siege, clearly under invasion, and they do it intermittently in order to intimidate the judicial arm of government, I think all of us should be worried. I'm alarmed. I'm alarmed that up to this point in time, the executive have not been able to make any statement with regard to this particular incident. And this is a particular story that the entire world is aware of. And then there are commentaries coming out from some of the developed economies about what is happening here. But the government here has kept quiet concerning this. That's why NBA is also not allowing this incident to be swept under the carpet. We want to keep it on the front burner, and I want to appreciate channels and other, all the other channels, that have actually showed interest in making sure that this matter is put on front burner. It should be a conversation all of us must undertake, so that there won't be any repeat. As I said earlier, it happened in 2016. There was a particular justice of the Supreme Court, I think Honorable Justice Sylvester Anguta, that was actually, his own was invaded. And the man, died an unhappy individual, because of that singular incident. Some other person like Justice John Inyang Okoro, his house was invaded. And there were several allegations, which up to this point in time was never proved. There are other justices of the Federal High Court then that their homes were also invaded, and none of them were convicted. So we feel that, look, what is going on? Why must the executive, do these things and get away with it, especially when election is, coming near the corner? So there are certain, permutations. But as I said earlier, what we are trying to do with this investigation is, one, to stop a reputation, and secondly, that this matter will not be swept under the carpet. Whosoever is involved in this, there must be some level of punishment that must be meted out, whoever they are. And the NBA is ready to go the entire home, and that's why we are all involved in this.
We're very much interested, and I'm very certain that this is not the first time we'll be having this conversation with you, because this has to do with investigation and finding out what the real matters are. So I wouldn't want us to go into the meat of those issues until you are able to come out with some of the concrete outcomes of it. The special investigator of NBA in the Justice Odili's home siege, Justice of the Supreme Court. Thank you so much, Mr. Monday Ubani, for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me. Good night.